Hello everyone, Alexandra Bingham here from CBM Australia. 2020 has really been a year unlike any other. COVID-19 has totally changed our daily lives. And while it has been tough on us all, it has especially been tough for vulnerable nations, less equipped to deal with the pandemic. That is why CBM is a key supporter of the End COVID for All campaign, to ensure the world's most vulnerable nations get the vital support they need. Today, we're joined by Michi Nombrado from CBM Philippines, our country office, to hear about how COVID-19 is impacting people in the Philippines. Michi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Alex, for having me today, and I wish that everyone's doing well.
We are. And first up, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what life looks like during COVID-19?
Right. So my name is Michi, and I work as a communication officer and safeguarding focal person for the Philippine Country Office here at CBM. And, I haven't really been out for quite some time now. We have been in various stages of lockdown since March, and for the past 2 weeks, we went back to a stricter lockdown because the doctors called for a timeout. They are overwhelmed, and there are many medical workers who are getting COVID. We now have more than 164,000 cases, and that's the highest in Southeast Asia. So, because of the lockdown, public transportation is not available at the moment, which is a big deal because the masses rely on public transport. And maybe you've heard that many overseas Filipino workers went back home because they lost their jobs abroad. And many local workers went back to the provinces because they lost their jobs in Manila. I remember this scene when people gathered in a stadium because they're hoping to be transported in the provinces because they lost their jobs and could not pay rent. So COVID-19 is a big reminder of the challenges that are already existing in our system. It feels like we are wounded again, and these wounds will take longer to heal. There are two surveys that reflect the kind of situation that we are in. The first survey says that more than 45% of Filipinos are without jobs at the moment.
Wow.
So, yeah, in December, it was only 17.5%. Well, that alone is big, but imagine 45%. And the second survey says that 79% of Filipinos felt that their quality of life got worse. So those are very telling numbers, and they paint a picture of how it is for us these days.
Those are very high numbers of unemployment. And we're definitely thinking about you and the team there as you support the community. My next question is, COVID-19 poses a real threat to the social and economic well-being of people with disabilities. Can you tell us how people with disabilities are being impacted in your country?
Well, even before the pandemic, they already face many challenges, such as access to basic services, transportation, infrastructure, and information. And we say that COVID-19 magnified these obstacles and vulnerabilities that are already faced by people with disabilities. For example, we received messages from families of people with psychosocial disabilities, and they were asking for help because they lost their jobs and they could not pay for the medicines that are very much needed by their family member. So for some, they could not find these medicines because of the delay in transporting goods. Another example would be for people with visual impairment or those who need treatments, they need to undergo swab test and they need to pay for personal protective equipment. So that's another layer of cost that is added to your overall expense because the test is not free for all. So I've spoken with some of my friends in other countries and they said they can avail of the test for free. So it's not true for everybody here. For many people with disabilities, they lost their jobs and livelihood opportunities are disrupted. These are disrupted. These are the current challenges that they are experiencing because of COVID-19. And we are only scratching the surface. There are many issues and they're facing a lot of challenges these days.
I wonder if there is anything that brings you hope during the pandemic. It is a very tough time, especially for your people in the Philippines. So have you had anything bring you hope during this time?
There are days when I do not feel like watching the news because it feels too much.
I
Like,
agree.
yeah, like today there was an earthquake in the south, and then a volcano is on alert again. It's also typhoon season, so sometimes it's just
A
too
bit too
much.
much.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I know it's difficult for everyone around the world, but stronger countries tend to bounce back easier. So I know that for us, we will take a while. We will endure this. But what gives me a glimmer of hope is what we do at CBM. When I was in university, we have a motto. We say, serve the people. And with what we do at CBM, I feel like I'm able to contribute in my own little way. And that is my source of hope and positivity these days.
Oh, well, I can agree with you there, Michi. And I think you're making a big impact, not a small impact in what you're able to contribute. So thank you for that. We really appreciate you joining us today. I would like to encourage the Australian public to, all of us, get behind this campaign and stand in solidarity with our neighbours in the Philippines and all of our other neighbours around the world. You too can sign and share the End COVID for All pledge, because it's not over for anyone until it's over for everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michi.
Thank you, Alex.